Sometimes your luck is just in. Our biggest clients have always come from recommendations. Always. If you are already running a successful business and it's time to upgrade from your current accountant, you don't look on Google or the yellow pages. You go to people in your circle, people who you trust, and you ask for a personal recommendation. So when Amy Bird called the office because she had driven past, was opening a new metal recycling company and needed an accountant, it's safe to say we didn't get too excited at the time. Well, how silly we were. Amy is the most extraordinary business person, man or woman, that I have ever met in my life. I have 2 daughters, and I constantly tell them that they can achieve whatever they want. However, after I met Amy, I now had living proof that I could show my children firsthand what winning as a female in a male-dominated industry looks like. What you are about to watch and listen to is a story which has so many twists and turns that Hollywood would reject this script because it would appear too far-fetched or too unrealistic or unimaginable. But I have been part of this story for the last few years, and it is truly amazing. We talk about how imposter syndrome shaped her early years, how her sister's gambling addiction cost the family millions of pounds, and how she built a recycling business worth an absolute fortune, only to face betrayal, a lawsuit which nearly bankrupted her, and getting pushed out of a company her and her husband Steve built with their bare hands. Amy's story is raw, fierce, and full of lessons about resilience, leadership, and what it really takes to win when you are at your absolute lowest. So enjoy my interview with Birmingham Businesswoman of the Year, Mrs. Amy Bird. So Amy, your story is pretty unique. I mean, I speak to a lot of businesses and hear a lot of stories, which is the best part of the job for me, getting to know businesses, where they come from, where they've ended up. When you told me your story, a bit of me didn't believe it because it was just so crazy. It was so wild that I had to kind of take space. I read about it online. And when I realized this is all true, like, you can make a movie about this. So I was really keen to get you on this podcast. And when I was making my list of guests, you were right at the top. And I think I was on holiday and I texted you saying, do you want to be on a podcast?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, that story will feature later. But you're in scrap metal, which is not the most common industry for women. So when we first met, I thought this is interesting.
Yeah.
We made a massive blunder on our side. We thought you were the guys that pick up the scrap metal on the side of the road. And then you needed a VAT number. We got you the VAT number. 9 months later, you had a VAT checking. The account manager looking after you loaded up the accounts on zero. And I saw the numbers and I realized I'd got your nature of your business completely wrong. You weren't picking up fridge freezers on the side of the road. You're dealing in tons and tons and tons of metal. So take me back, because you're from East London?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Born and bred.
Yeah. And mum and dad were in the metal game as well?
Yeah. So we were born in East London. Dad was one of 10. Wow. So he was a little bit of a naughty boy when he was younger and went on to create a aluminium smelter in the middle of East London.
What's a smelter?
So a smelter is where you're actually melting aluminium. You've got these huge furnaces and you're billowing out smoke, well, through a filtration plant. But we were on the edge of the Thames. So you can imagine it's where the London City Airport is now before that area became developed.
Yeah.
And so from a very, very young age, I used to go into the yard with mum. So whether that was counting pennies on the floor just to keep me occupied. But when I was 7, we moved out of the East End because Dad had always said, if I ever crack it, I want a farm. Because as a child, they were very, very poor. And so their holidays were hop picking. So they'd chuck all of the people out of the East End, would get on these buses, go down south to go and pick the hops. And it was some of his fondest memories. And so my mum was a bit posh. She wasn't, but she was in that environment. So her hopping hut, and it was a hut with nothing on the floor.
Yeah.
She would take like carpets with her and make proper beds. And she was everyone would talk about her. But anyway, he wanted to live there. So when I was 7, he took us for a drive and he pulls up this big long drive, this big house. And he goes, do you like your new house? So we are all just in fits and giggles, like, don't be ridiculous, Dad, you can't do this. Someone's going to arrest us. You can't just go in someone's house. Pulls out, says, no, get out. We get out and he buys the house. There and then he buys the house off the guy.
Wow.
And like back in the day, so this is like a 23-acre place, you know, it's got an apple farm on it, big old drum, lake. And relatively speaking, back then you could buy something like that for like 140 grand.
Yeah.
So done deal. Off we go to Kent. Scrapyard stays in London. So
still operating the business.
Still operating the business. The business is doing very well. We kind of, or not we, because I was too young, but my sister left school at 16.
Okay.
10 years older than me. She supports mum and dad in the back office. My brother leaves school at 14 and he's straight into the yard. So
there's three of you.
Yeah, there's three of us all together, 10-year difference. So they're working really hard, travelling up to London every day. I'm the spoiled little rich kid that gets sent off to a very posh school because now we can.
Yeah. But a few years ago, you were picking hops on a holiday.
Absolutely.
So you weren't the spoiled rich kid
so
there.
That started from there, really. That was massive change. And, you know, I talk about this to quite a few people. That's hard.
Yeah.
Being the kid at the East End whose dad is a scrap dealer and drives a gold Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Going to a little, first of all, community school.
Yeah.
Where, well, obviously they're drug dealers because, you know, people don't just rock up like that. That's just obvious. Yeah. And then secondly, oh, you're a scrap dealer. Oh, so you bury people in the boot of your car then. So no one was allowed to play with me. None of the children could come home. And it kind of went from there. So
did you know that at the time? Did you know, was it strange? Like, why are kids not playing? It's their parents are telling them, stay away from the Connollys, right? Because they are gangsters, drug dealers.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that. And no child could. So what does that sound like for me? You're different.
Yeah.
We don't like you.
Yeah.
You know, I think at the time I was a big kid as well. So I thought all of this was because I was fat. Okay. Like, it didn't occur to me that it was their parents saying, you can't play with her.
Yeah.
You know, and my mum would do things to try and integrate, like she would invite all the kids back to the house, but she would like let us eat Chinese takeaway in bed. Like they weren't normal things for these kind of families. Yeah. And then I'd occasionally get invited back, more so in senior school. I went to a really good senior school because Dad was always wanting to better us, to do more for us so that we didn't have to have it as hard as he did. Yeah. He was of the opinion that if you could speak properly, you could go to the bank manager and everything becomes easier. Yeah. But he didn't realise how hard that was for the person actually being put in that environment. Yeah. And I found it really tough. I didn't fit in. And it really bred imposter syndrome in me for a long time, that everything I went on to do, I never presented as me. Okay. For a really,
you feel like you're putting on a front?
Yeah, putting on a front because no one was going to like me if I was truly me, because I had a history of that.
Okay. So you adopted a character.
I adopted an alter ego, a character, and that really stayed with me. And I was desperate to please my parents as well. Bear in mind, in their heads, they're like doing everything for me. Yeah. I'm getting more than my brother and sister ever got. I'm going to be so successful because look at what they're providing for me. But the mental side of that can be very, very different.
Absolutely. So what happened to your brother and sister? Did they not join the business?
So my brother and sister stayed in the metal recycling business in the East End. Okay. That went on to grow and grow and grow. We were selling ingots into Germany. You know, we were the first to have like a spectrograph. So a spectrograph is a machine that chemically does an analysis on your aluminium. Okay. Now, bear in mind, we're council house on the fish and chip shop. My sister leaves school at 16, no qualifications. Jimmy left at 14 officially, but never really went in the first place. Yeah. My dad can't read and write, and we're running this technology now, you know.
You can see why people might have thought you were a drug dealer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how does that even happen? I mean, how that happens is grit and really, really hard work. But yeah, so this business is evolving and evolving. But the other thing that happens when you come from sort of nothing and you crack on, your world around you shrinks and you trust nobody. You're terrified of losing it because you don't want to go back to having nothing again. And so you do everything yourself. And that breeds don't ask anyone for any advice. Yeah. If your accountant tells you, has some advice, don't listen to them because they're after your money. Like, everyone's after something. Yeah. And in hindsight, I mean, one funny story, there was a row of houses in East London. And my dad's accountant at the time was a great guy. He had faith in my dad. He really, really did. And he was only a little local guy. And he says, Jimmy, I'm going to take £5,000 a week off you. At the time, it was a lot of money. And Dad said, no, you're not.
It's just a lot of money now.
You know, £5,000, what are you talking about? He said, no, it's not for me. I'm just going to take it. I won't cash the cheque until you tell me I can, but we're going to build a fund. And what we're going to do is you're going to go and buy that row of houses over there. He said, there won't be a lot of money. I'll get the deposit together by taking this bit every week and you're going to buy the row of houses. So Dad goes home to Mum, Pat, we're going to buy a row of houses. And she called him everything, you know, all the silly sods under the sun, and they didn't do it.
Okay.
Those houses were, I think, about 20 grand a piece.
Wow.
They're now over £1 million each on that row, you know. So our distrust held us back quite a lot because we didn't have that kind of knowledge. We didn't have knowledge of the financial markets. We knew how to trade. Dad could have a deal. He could work. You know, that was his nature. My mum was quite clever. You know, she was the grammar school girl, so she could do the books.
Okay.
So that's where we could get to. And that is where it evolved from. That's how the yard became really something back in the 80s. You know, it was a big deal. And then, so Jimmy and Patsy stayed with the business until we hit a bit of a hiccup.
Okay.
So the business grew and grew. We weren't allowed to trust anyone. I was in and out. So one of the things happened to me was I was never going into the scrap job.
Okay.
I'd watch Mum and Dad work together so hard, and Jimmy and Patsy, and they worked all the time and talked about it all the time. There was nothing else. And I was very headstrong as a teenager, and I could just see that I was going to end up in this situation where my opinion wouldn't matter. I'm 10 years the junior.
I was going to say, it's because of your age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not only that, every idea I kind of come up with, there was a bit of a backlash that, well, your posh school didn't teach you how things really work.
Okay.
So that was kind of thrown at me for quite a lot.
So they put you into the school and now you're being basically discriminated for their decision.
Yeah. Just because all those people you know have got money, that doesn't mean they know how to do what we do.
Yeah.
And that was a fear aggression, actually. I came to realise later on. They want to protect their environment, you know. So that all happened. I wasn't going to do it, so I went off modelling. I won a modelling competition.
Okay. How did that come about? Did you try to be a model, or you just spotted on the street?
Really weird, because I didn't even know about manifestation back in the 90s. All I knew was that I wasn't going to work in the scrap job.
Okay.
So I went off and played with horses for a while. I gained my riding qualifications. It doesn't pay well at all, you know. And then on the back of my wall in my bedroom, I was always obsessed with fashion.
Okay.
But inadvertently, what I'd done is I'd surrounded myself with cutouts of magazines. They were all over my walls, of models and New York, and I was so immersed in it. But I was a big girl, so I was never going to be able to be a model because you had to be very, very thin back in the day. Anyway, a competition came up. So I sent in a snapshot to a magazine for a plus-size model. So there were hundreds and hundreds of applicants, and I get down to the final 12 for that. And again, I'm hit with this kind of fear aggression. My family don't know this. We all stay close. We do what we do. And there was no kind of, that's brilliant, well done. It's, well, if you think you're going to be traveling all over the world, that's not going to happen. So competition day comes. It's judged by Lorraine Kelly. We're doing a catwalk in this bar in London. And halfway through, we break. And my mum comes up to me and says, I don't know how to break this to you, but you haven't won. I just heard them all talking in the toilet, and that other girl with the big teeth, she's won.
Wow.
And I said, oh, okay, fine. Well, I'm going to finish it anyway. I'm really enjoying myself. This is like opportunity of a lifetime. So we do the second half, and I'm the winner.
Okay.
So I win the competition. It's a nationwide search, and I win. They take me up to the rooftop. We've got all the newspapers there. And also now there's a story, isn't there? Scrap metal girl becomes model.
Yeah.
So the papers were all over it. They came down to the farm. There were stories, like double page spreads in all the newspapers. Big deal.
Yeah.
Within a week, they were flying me to New York.
Wow.
I had work come in pretty much immediately. What I didn't have was a clue with what to do.
Yeah.
So follow my story. Where am I now? I'm an imposter again. Being an imposter in New York, competing against the American girls, that's a tough place to be, because they're going to own that space.
Yeah.
And they're going to make you fight for it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to run. I just wanted to go home so badly. But I had to prove myself, because the other thing Mum had done is she said, I will lay myself down in front of that plane if you get on it.
So do you think Mum was maybe kind of trying to convince you not to go by telling you you've lost to maybe, so the second half you don't really perform, she's actually jeopardizing your success. She's just trying to crush your dream. Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Terrified.
Okay.
My mum was terrified of the person I was becoming. Was very outspoken.
Okay.
I liked going out a lot.
Yeah.
And I did look the part. I was nearly 6 foot, I dressed well. I had a loud personality to go with it. And in her head, I was going to attract the wrong men.
Okay.
It was really about that. I was going to end up with the wrong men. You've got to bear in mind, we grew up in East London. There were a lot of bad people around, earning a lot of money in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
And she kind of saw that glamorous lifestyle leading into that. Yeah. And she just wanted to protect me from that.
Okay.
I know that now.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, you just want to crush my dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
Why won't you let me do this, But as a mum now, it's hard. It's hard to let your child go and explore what they want to do. And that particularly in the modelling world, it's fierce. It's a nasty, nasty place to be. And there wasn't a lot of reality in it.
Yep.
So it was a protection mechanism, and that's it.
But you're going to do something similar now, because your daughter, she's probably equally as glamorous. She's competing on a fitness thing. She's traveling around the world doing that. Do you find that history is repeating itself? And it's I'm not going to be my mum in this. Yeah,
I really struggle with that, because I'm not going to be my mum. I'm going to support you. I mean, I'm going to jump on planes and follow you to Malaga and pay for it while you're doing your thing. But the thing that I sometimes catch myself with is I'm not tough enough.
Okay.
So what's happened with Bella is I've become successful, and I've done lots of things that lots of people talk about, and I'm proud of my life. I really am. What that does to your children, if you're not careful, is they feel pressure to go and better that, or certainly be the same as that.
Yeah.
And that I didn't realize until Belle became 21. She's always felt that pressure. So when she was at school, she wasn't getting straight A's. I'm really cool with it. I'm like, babe, as long as you've tried your best, it isn't always about the academics. I was so cool about it. But she put pressure on herself, like unbelievable pressure. And I never realized why. And we only recently had that chat. And she said, have you seen yourself, Mum? Have you seen the way people talk about you? I'm your daughter. Everyone is expecting me to do that and then some.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, are they? Or are you expecting you to do that and then some? And I don't know the answer to that, but we do have to be careful as parents.
I don't think anyone knows. And also, I don't know if you're into boxing, the recent Chris Eubank, Conor Benn fight, it was just 2 sons of 2 dads. And Chris Eubank wasn't talking to his dad. And you just think, I kind of feel for you a little bit. It's got to be very difficult to have a dad like him. But maybe the dad doesn't know that. Maybe the dad doesn't know that he's kind of casting this massive shadow or setting such a high expectation. That's quite hard to keep up with that.
Yeah, I think so. I think we feel that everything we do is for a better life for our children.
Yeah.
And so many people are so busy doing that actually they don't have the time to see what's really going on. And sometimes we can leave that too late.
Absolutely.
I caught Belle developed OCD as part of this whole situation. And it got quite bad. Like it was, down to the light switches and all of that kind of thing before she leaves the house. And everything had to be perfect. And if you couldn't be perfect at something, there wasn't any point in trying at all.
Okay.
But we very quickly jumped on it, got a therapist. The therapist gave the tools to be able to catch that as it's happening. And she got over it.
Yeah.
Had I not had such a good relationship with her, would I have caught it? Probably not. And that would have gone into adulthood. And that cycle is really hard to break.
And also probably having the awareness. It's very easy to sleepwalk into a situation and go, that's just how she is. Well, yeah, my kid's like that as well. Like stroppy teenager kind of syndrome, but you were more alert to it. You thought, I think there's a problem here. You've had the discussion with her. You've diagnosed it yourself somewhat and taken action, got a therapist in and dealt with it. Whereas what could easily happen is the 35, 40 years old into depression and the parents go, I don't know how it happened. It was happening when she was 15. How have you let that happen?
And even worse, I gave you everything. What more could you have had? Why, you're not entitled to feel depressed.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. As I was speaking to a client the other day who's probably not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And he's disappointed in his son. His son hasn't done very well at GCSEs and A-levels. And he literally was fuming. He went, and we used to drive him around in a brand new BMW. Like, what? What has that got to do with his academic success? Like, well, we tried our best by doing what we thought was right for him, but it's not right for him. It's right for you. It's not right for him. You actually haven't got a clue about your son.
100%.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So back to the scrap metal business, you said that things then went wrong was that what happened whilst you were modelling? Or was it going wrong before?
No, so what happened when I was modelling was that Dad, and this was something he did that was good, he knew that wasn't going to be forever.
Okay.
So I would land from a trip, wherever that may have been, even if it was like a completely different time zone, and I'd be straight on the weighbridge.
Okay.
Because he was going to keep me grounded. That was kind of our silent agreement. Okay, you're going to be peaceful about me doing this at least.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come to work in between.
Okay.
Because it's a job where you could be working for a month and then you might not be working for a month.
The modelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I'm on the weighbridge and I'm sort of talking to every ruffian at the window. And it was back in the days when you were paying cash. Now, when you were paying cash, you were having 40 grand a day delivered. Like, it was massive.
Yeah.
But that did keep me grounded and it started to pique my interest. They started me on accounts. I always remember this. And I was useless. I was so bad. Like, I couldn't add up a line of numbers. It was when we had those great big double ledgers, you know, and it was always wrong. So my poor sister would be like told by my mum and dad that she had to get me doing it. But then she'd have to do all my work again because it was always wrong.
Oh, no.
So in the end, she sort of said, you can't, you're like, this isn't for you. I think you're more like English drama kind of vibe. Why don't you have a go on the weighbridge? Learn to do the weighbridge. You'll get on with the customers. That would be great. So I did. And I wasn't the most reliable because I was a bit of a party girl at the time, but I was learning a job.
So the weighbridge, and I learned this when I started working with you. So effectively, the lorry comes into the yard over this massive, basically, it's a scale, really. You weigh the lorry, you then dump the metal, you weigh it when it leaves, and effectively the difference is what the metal weighed.
That's it, and that's what they're going to get paid for. But it's easy to make a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, you drop another zero. You won't make it. And if that is what we call the door trade, you know, the white vans.
Yeah.
You drop another zero on their ticket, they're never going to be seen again.
Yeah.
You know, they're never coming back. So I made a few mistakes, tried not to, but it was more the speaking to people.
Okay.
But the problem that came with that is that I became quite operationally focused, so I could see what was going on outside. And I didn't like it if people were being lazy that worked for us. I took that as like, that's hitting my family in the pocket.
Yeah.
But because I was only 18, you can't go out and start shouting at men that have worked for your father for 20 years, even if you're right.
Yeah.
And it drove me insane. But I'm like, Dad, he's not done anything all day.
Well, you can imagine the perception. You're basically the rich, hot, spoiled girl.
Exactly.
And these are big, brawly men from East London. Yeah. They're not taking it from you.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And they would just sort of laugh at me, which would infuriate me. You know, and it just became that I had to, you know, I did less and less of that. But the big problem that happened was the pressure of a growing business. So that business grew to about 60 million, which back in the day was a lot.
So when are we talking? Like early 90s?
So 90s, yeah. All the way up to, where are we now? 2025, about 2012 is where it sort of finished. But because of this distrust of everybody, it was just Patsy, my sister, doing the accounts.
Okay.
Juggling everything.
A £60 million business is just due to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Me when I felt like it. And, you know, I mean, I'm out. I want my wages, you know.
Yeah, of course.
But she's working day and night. The pressure's mounting. In our business, cash flow is king. Always has been. Yeah. We're paying same day. Then we're putting material into containers. We're sending it out. We're maybe 2 or maybe 3 weeks. When you're running furnaces, you've got to melt the material. Then you've got to stack it up. Then you've got to get the sale. So her cash flow pressure was enormous. Her way of dealing with that became gambling.
Okay.
So my whole family, we've now discovered, are genetically disposed to be an addict of something.
Okay.
Mine, it tends to be gym
Yeah.
and keeping myself fit. Patsy's unfortunately ended up gambling at that point. Because she was in sole control of everything and my dad's absolute right-hand person, my sister and my dad, which I openly admit I was very jealous of, were like peas in a pod.
Yeah.
Only those two really knew what was going on and we were never going to infiltrate that. And she didn't want to let him down either. None of us want to let Dad down. We all want to please Dad. So she'd get home and she said it started that she was under so much pressure, the only way she could switch off is she would go on Jackpot Joy.
Okay.
And she
so
just-
online gambling.
Online gambling. She
Yeah.
kept pressing the button. And then she'd run out of her own money. But she had full access, no second signatory to all of the business accounts.
And we're talking millions.
We're talking millions.
Yeah.
And when it came to a head, it was 40 grand a night
Oh,
at 11 o'clock at night being transferred from one to the other. And she won't mind me talking about this. She's been through therapy, and I think she's quite keen for people to stay away from online gambling.
yeah.
It shouldn't have been allowed to happen. There should have been safeguards in place, not only from us, but from the gambling guys and the bank. And I just want to point out to anyone who does have a gambling addiction, it's not going to go away. And they lure you back in. You try and stop. She tried to stop. You could see it through the transaction history. She would try for a week, and they would send her an email saying, here's 10 grand, have a go on us, which is sick, like absolutely sick. So basically I get a call. I'm up by this time. So we're jumping around on my timeline because so much has gone on. But by this time I'm in Birmingham and I've started trading from Birmingham. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And Steve.
Because that's quite the downgrade.
Yeah, I know, right?
Kent, East London.
Okay, and now I'm in Birmingham.
Yeah.
But I get a call from Dad and he says, I've got the bank and the accountants have turned up here. They reckon there's a load of money gone missing. And I know it hasn't, but I can't get hold of your sister. So she's done one. So middle of the audit, Patsy gets up and says she's popping to the shop, doesn't come back.
Okay.
Leaves Dad sitting there with the bank and the auditor at the meeting. Sure, it'll be fine. I'm on my way. Tell them, come back in a couple of days and we'll sit and have a meeting. I get there. I pull up. I get in her email account. I pull up the emails, the bank accounts, everything. And it was devastating.
Oh, I bet your heart just sank.
Just devastating. It ended up £3.7 million.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like, I still get chills from it. It was, some out of Dad's accounts as well, business accounts. And it was just everybody at that minute said, well, that's it, you're done. Pull the plug. So I said, well, look, you got two choices here. You're going to be wiping your mouth of that. And regardless of what you go for, we haven't got that many assets. You're not going to recover it.
You're speaking to the bank here.
This is the bank.
Yeah.
Or we can have a deal. You can work with me. You can allow us to continue trading. And we'll have a payment plan. It will be a long payment plan. You will have to take some responsibility for what's happened because you were watching that money go out to a non-director night on night.
And the same amount every night.
At 11 p.m.
Yeah.
So there was some responsibility and we spoke about that a lot and we had a deal and it took 8 years, but we did manage to pay it off.
Wow.
We did manage to pay it off. Now that company, unfortunately, we did dissolve because it wasn't right. It couldn't get back from that, if that makes sense. But the family still has a business down there. We've got Countrywide Metals, which I now co-own and keep a very close eye on. And it's doing really, really well. Yeah. So in amongst everything else, we crashed a company that was established in 1977.
Oh.
Had to repay the bank all that money. Yeah. Had to keep hold of Mum and Dad's house because I wasn't going to see them out of a house. At that point, I was also building up. I'd started this business with Steve and I was building that up. Yeah. So the pressure during that period was insane.
And you had Bella at that time, right?
So yeah, Bella came along in 2003.
Okay.
But not only did Bella come along in 2003, in 2004, I split up with her dad. And in 2004, I met Steve.
Okay.
Steve had 4 children.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that until I fell in love with him. Too late.
Wow. You conveniently kept that quiet.
Like I knew he'd had a couple.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. But we got together and we just fell immediately. Like couldn't be separated.
Oh, that's weird.
Couldn't up until my dad found out. Now bear in mind at this point I'm 26.
Okay.
My dad finds out I am seeing someone from the scrap industry.
Okay, so Steve was in the industry as well.
Steve used to buy scrap from my dad.
Okay.
So me and my sister were never allowed to date in the industry. Absolutely no way. And so Steve's in a lot of trouble.
Okay.
They're looking for Steve now. So Steve and I go undercover We used to meet at like these little hotels in various places up and down the motorway. It would be the nights when Belle would be with my mum, or her dad would have a couple of days a week, and then we would drive to wherever to be together.
Yeah.
But we were like secret. No one could see us.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was quite cool.
Yeah.
And then after about 9 months, I'd say, he won my dad round.
Okay.
And I was moving as he had more children than me. So the natural progression that I was going to move to Birmingham.
Yeah.
The next hurdle was saying, not only am I doing that, I'm setting up my own business in the same field as you with Steve. Because to ease that, what I did was I traveled down the motorway every day.
Okay.
Birmingham to London. I wasn't I just couldn't tell him. I was too scared. And actually, when I told him, he was fine. He was fine. In the end of it all, they're the best of friends. Yeah. Steve loves my dad's stories. It's his favourite thing to do. And Dad's very proud, of how we've come out of it and what we've achieved. So
absolutely. Cool. And how's your sister now?
Patsy is epic, actually.
Okay.
She came to live with me. So people find this quite interesting. So when it happened, I just wanted to find her.
Yeah.
I knew how bad she must be feeling. And she turned up at my house up here, thank God, with her husband. And I was just like, come in. Right, you're here now. And I was like, okay.
So did her husband know what she was doing?
Not at the time.
Okay.
Not until...
So it was a shock to him as well.
It was a shock to him. And he'd found it very difficult.
Yeah.
It was... They don't have children. Very social, my sister and her husband.
Yeah.
They're not together anymore, but very social. He was pub. She was parties at home with the girls.
Okay.
So it was kind of a disjointed life as well. And everyone goes, there's no way he couldn't have known she was on that computer every night. But it happened.
Yeah.
So they turn up at mine, bring her in, and I go, right, the first thing we're going to do with you're going to the Priory. This isn't a little addiction. No. She says, I don't think so. I don't think that's needed. And I said, I'm telling you now, this is what we're doing. And she went in for 12 weeks.
Okay.
12 weeks residential. Terrifying. Dropping your sister off somewhere like that is heartbreaking. And then going back in to visit, and you have to write these letters telling them how their actions have affected you.
Yeah.
And mine was 3 pages long.
Yeah.
I put it all down. It was really interesting because I tried to get a husband, because they were living with me at the time, to do the same.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't do it. He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
He couldn't identify how he felt about it because it was so painful.
Yeah.
And my mum and dad felt the same. They just couldn't quite deal with it. So she does her time. By the end of her time at the Priory, she's giving out the advice. Like I visit on the last day, she's in a circle with everyone else telling them how to run their businesses and what they should do.
Awesome.
And so fully recovered. Then she carried on living with me for about a year.
Okay.
She helped me with childcare, and she came out of it amazing. And now she does a bit for us, but she's got lots of animals and she looks after that. And she is massive support to me, huge support, which you have to have when you're running these big businesses and you feel like you're on your own a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Having that bit of someone who does understand the business to say, I'm under so much pressure, because she'll be the first person to say, that's the most important thing. Stop it now. What can we do to take the pressure off? Because she's been there.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So tell me about Steve.
Yeah.
Because Steve is a character. I absolutely love Steve.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have the same effect on this podcast. His brain goes off. And so he's in Birmingham. You're in London.
Yep.
He's working with Dad. He meets you. You hit it off. You move to Birmingham. Was it his business that was buying? So he's working for someone. You're working for Dad.
Yep.
And the natural thing is, let's start our own scrap metal. And was that one stop?
So that was One Stop. So how One Stop was born is that we went on one of our secret weekends away. We managed to grab a weekend in Spain in a friend's apartment. We had a bottle of tequila on the balcony. We drank the lot and we planned our entire life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Entire life. And we missed the plane the following morning. And my sister knew about us. She was in on it. And he had to phone her and say, look, she's not going to be in work. We've missed the plane. And my sister was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Believe that one. But we did. We set out, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll start trading from home. Steve as a trader is one of the best I've ever met.
Yeah.
Best I've ever met. He has taught me so much. He's taught me that no doesn't matter.
Yeah.
People say no and then they come back.
That's how he probably got you.
Exactly.
Anyone who's watching this is probably thinking Steve is about 6'4", ripped, looks like Ken. He's probably the exact opposite. He probably looks more like me than
yeah, I think Steve is 5'8.5" if you ask him, maybe 3/4.
Yeah.
A very bald head.
Yeah.
He would call himself a supersonic solar powered machine.
Yeah. It's got a lot of energy.
Yeah, he's like a bouncy ball.
Yeah.
Can't focus for very long, but he's like a bouncy.
Strong, thick, Brummy accent.
Yeah.
Like, but always smiling, always happy.
Always happy. And that's our thing. Our energy together has always been great.
Yeah. You're a very good team.
Yeah.
Very good team.
It works. Working as a husband and wife team is difficult, don't get me wrong. And the reason we managed to build our businesses is because we live and breathe them.
Yeah.
And we don't, or historically, we haven't done that kind of, we must have work-life balance. When we're at home, we're not going to talk about it. We didn't do that.
Okay.
We were all in.
That's really interesting.
All in for certainly the first 5 years. It wouldn't have happened if we hadn't.
I recently did a podcast when I was in Dubai, and the guy asked me, how do you switch off? And I said to him, there's a clip that he's put on socials. Like, you don't. You know, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you don't stop ever being a business owner. You don't say, well, I'm going to put my entrepreneur head away. You're always an entrepreneur. Yeah, people say no business at the dinner table. You can't. You're always in business. Whether you're eating, sleeping, going to the gym, you're always in business. You can't switch it off. So both of you are essentially like that. And I suppose your life just became about the business, right? And launching this thing.
If you've got 5 children, my niece lived with me as well, and we have this massively growing business, and we're hungry. We want to do well.
Yeah.
You know, we want the big house, we want the nice things, and we're not frightened to admit that. You know, it is about that. Business is about being able to do well, have nice things, go on fabulous holidays, fly business class, fly first class if you can.
Yeah.
It is about that.
Yeah.
What it is for us.
No, absolutely.
You know?
Well, there's 2 schools of thought, isn't there? There's the people that think, do everything in silence, don't tell anyone your plans, and then shed them the results. And the other school of thought is, I just want to tell everyone what I'm going to do. I need to be laughed at. I need people to tell me I'm mad, so that I now have a kind of, I put pressure on myself to deliver because I've told everyone I'm going to do this. I think you definitely subscribe to the latter. Like, we want this, we're going to have this, and you just go for it.
Yeah.
So when did you start One Stop?
So One Stop would have been, gosh, I can't really remember now. I think it was 2012. Steve had a shell company, One Stop Recycling, that he traded a few machines through.
Okay.
But he was a scrap buyer for a big company called All Metal Recovery. All Metal Recovery sold out to a huge multinational called Sims Metal, and they offered him a deal. The deal was rubbish. So he phoned me up and he said, look, this has happened. And actually, step back, we just got a huge fat mortgage because I didn't want to live in the city, or I'd come from this farm and call me a spoilt cow, but I wanted to live somewhere in the countryside in a detached house. So
Is that where you live now?
Yeah.
It's the same house. Okay.
So I wanted that place. So we couldn't afford it. We walk in and we knew we couldn't afford it. And Steve, being Steve, puts in the cheekiest offer, like a couple of $100,000 below.
Yeah.
And she kicked us out of the house. She was so cross with us, the lady.
You made the offer there and then?
And she was like fuming.
Yeah.
So we go away. Then we get a call 2 weeks later from the ex-husband because their divorce is going on.
Okay.
If you're ready to go, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And that's Steve's thing.
It is.
Do you know what I mean?
That's why when it comes to our fees, I always negotiate with you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting there dying on the stairs thinking, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And he did it. Like, how cool is that? Anyway, so we've got this big fat mortgage, and Steve eventually is being told, well, we're pretty much going to half your salary, or you can do one.
Yeah.
So he phoned me up. He was like, oh my God, what on earth do I do? I said, you do one. You're better than that.
Yeah.
Best trader I know. We can do this. And on that day, he did his first trade.
Okay.
And so respected in the industry that it enabled us to buy material from people. They would give us a couple of days credit. We could sell it, get paid immediately, and then pay for it.
Okay.
And he traded day and night.
So your cash flow sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do the back office. I could set up the VAT numbers. I could do the paperwork. I could tell him what the LME was doing, give him the market prices. I could do that bit because I still have my hand in the other company as well.
Yeah. LME is London Metal Exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're linked to that. You know, people think that we're like step-toe, but actually we're like traders.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Currency, London Metal Exchange, constantly changing. And he traded and he traded and he traded. And then we needed a yard because not everybody has big parcels that you can move without putting them down. So we found a tiny little yard over in Birmingham, middle of a housing estate, but it was all we could find.
Yeah.
So we took that. Within 6 months, the neighbours were going berserk. We were like trading 9, 10, 11 hours a day. There's aluminium clanging. And, it was a nightmare. Just packed And we worked out of a porta cabin, double-story porta cabin, and then this small yard space, great big bulkers coming in and out, huge cranes, and then all these houses around us. So worked with the council, found a new yard. Some friends of ours, luckily, had some sites in Bawdsley Green. So we moved into one of those. There's aggregates one side, and we got a license to do our thing this side. Maybe 18 months out we're at.
Yeah.
So lorries are queuing up the road, you know, they can't get in, then we're getting moaned at because of the traffic, and we know there's more to go at. Like, we don't want to just say no to everything. So the yard next door comes up. Now we're going from about 2.5 to about a 6-acre site. In we go. I make the same mistake that my family made. It's just me and my bookkeeper. And we're growing, but I'm so busy in the nitty gritty that I don't get my head out of my backside to go, whoa, I need some help here.
Yeah.
I just work harder, and I work
because of the culture that you've grown up with.
Yeah.
It's just us. You don't let anyone else in.
Exactly.
Everyone's an enemy.
Yeah.
Don't trust anyone.
Exactly that. And if I've got to work till midnight, then I'll work till midnight. Not the right answer, may I add. So, but we get to this big yard and we want to process more scrap. Now we're buying thousands of tons, like 10,000 ton of scrap every single month in and every single month out. We're good at what we do. People like us. We're a bit slow in paying because we just can't keep up. And then Steve goes, what we need now is a really big machine to process it. So how it works with Steve and I, Steve says, I say, how much? He said, this much. And I go, okay, yeah, let's do that. And that's literally how a lot of our transactions go. And then I rapidly pedal under the water trying to make it work. But this particular machine was 2.5 million.
Okay. What is this machine?
So this is a shear. So this is a really big shear where you put all the steel in a great big hopper.
Yeah.
A guy sits in a cab on the top of it, a great big hopper, and it just munches it away and it densifies it into a grade called 1 and 2. You then stuff it into containers, and we were sending out up to 20 of these boxes of material a day.
Wow.
Out they go. And you couldn't keep up with it. So this big machine does 30 ton an hour. So it's going to be life changing.
Yeah.
We can really fill that up. We can feed it. A couple of mistakes. To take market share, you got to pay more money. You're going to dent your margin. This particular machine, what they didn't tell me, 2.5 million, I could juggle with, because what I did was Steve and I went over to Germany and we got the manufacturer on side. An old guy, Mr. Lineback, actually owned the company. And we were there all day and we were going through the machine and the deals. And in the end, I was like, Mr. Lineback, I can't afford your machine. I haven't got the money. I haven't got the finance. Will you let me pay the deposit off in chunks while you build it? He kind of laughed at me. And I went, please, like, we're good for it. Look what we've done. And he just laughed and he went, okay, I trust you.
Wow.
So he let us get together the first kind of 500 grand and pay it in chunks, like 40 grand at a time, while we were trying to earn the money to pay it. I love that story and I love Mr. Lineback, but what a mistake. Like, for me to put the cash flow under that much pressure, that was the first big mistake I made. And I kind of didn't know I'd made it until what I also hadn't been told by Steve or operations was that foundation for that machine was another 750 grand.
Okay.
Before it even became...
You're talking about groundworks in the yard.
Before it becomes operational.
Okay.
That machine then had a 6-month delay. It got stuck for clearance on a bridge in Germany. They couldn't get the clearance. So now I've paid this deposit out. I've paid for the foundation somehow. And now I can't have the machine.
Yeah.
I've stacked up enough tonnage to go through it on the due date it was coming in. It's not coming in. So it was just like the perfect storm. But then on the other side, don't tell anyone what's going on. Don't reach out to the bank.
Yeah.
Don't speak to an accountant about it. You can't do that. So I didn't. Now I'm drowning, drowning. But we got through it and the business went on to carry on buying thousands of tons. And it was our baby. You know, we've built this from scratch. So now I'm like, do you know what? We can't take this any further. I can't carry on under this pressure. I really felt at that point I'd burned out.
Okay.
And I think I was going to be ill. I was about to, on the cusp of just walking away and going, I just can't. I was waking up in the morning thinking, who have I got to pay today? Who can I put off till tomorrow? How am I going to make this work?
It's not being enjoyable, right?
And also, when you're married in that situation, Steve's quite an explosive personality. Even telling him, it wouldn't be like, okay, let's work together and try and sort it out. It would be like, well, how have you let that happen?
Yeah.
You know, so it was really on my shoulders. And And that's when we really move on to the next step of the business journey, which was let's find a buyer.
Yeah. So we're talking about 2018-19 now, aren't we? Okay. So this is where the story, I mean, it's a great story anyway. But this is the bit where when you first told me, my jaw hit the ground.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I still can't fully comprehend what you went through.
No.
So how did you made the decision to sell?
Yeah.
Did you find the buyer or did the buyer find you?
Really odd. So there are things that I didn't know then that, having spent a lot of time on this, I do now know.
Yeah.
So I thought the buyer found us and was genuinely interested in the business. So the buyer had worked for a company called Liberty Steel, Sanjeev Gupta's empire.
Yeah, Sanjeev Gupta is he Singaporean?
I think so, yeah.
It was obviously Indian.
So there's two Sanjeev Guptas in this story,
Okay.
actually. So there's big Sanjeev Gupta that's been all over the press.
This is Greenhill Bank.
That's it, that whole story.
David Cameron.
And our people that came in, the Chabria family, worked for him.
Okay.
This is the outset of the story. So initially, they were interested. This huge company that was under
The Chabras or the Guptas? Okay.
so the GFG Alliance, this whole big, they bought Port Talbot, like this was all going on. They got a lot of money, we think, because it's before the bad stuff came out.
Yeah.
So they turn up at the yard, chauffeur driven, 15, 20 minutes late, but that's okay because they're so important.
Multi-billionaires.
We've got to put up with that. We are a bit embarrassed because we're taking them in the portal cabin and say, this place is worth a fortune. You need it in your portfolio. Oh yeah, love what you're doing here. We need a base in Birmingham. Then they come back to us with an offer and I just said, don't be ridiculous.
What was that offer?
I think it was like 1 million.
Okay.
It was
And you were turning over what, about 45 at this stage?
Yeah, about 45 million.
Yeah.
It was, no, don't be ridiculous. I've got the staff, I've got the knowledge. This is something that's going to be worth a lot of money. Anyway, so they go away. And it goes quiet, but they keep in touch with us. So they would hire out Edinburgh Castle, let's just say, for a banquet. And Steve and I would end up in the room of about 40 people, of the most elite business people you would ever come across.
Yeah.
And we're just looking at each other going, what are we doing here? There's a guy sitting next to us. He's just sold out for 150 million and him and his wife are just spending time 6 months in each country. They're going around the world. Kids going in and out of private school. They're helicoptering all over the place. Yeah. It's a big deal. Yeah. And there were lots of things like that. Then we get the plane home with them and Nirmal Chabria, who becomes the head of the family that buy the company eventually, is like, I'm writing a book. It's called Screw the Fear, Up the Gear.
Oh.
And I think you'd be great. You could present me before I go on stage because I think you'd be really good at that, Amy. I think like you could really be my right hand. Now he's in my head. This is an amazing businessman. And Amy, from the East End, and he wants me.
Yeah.
Wow. Amy, you're an amazing businesswoman. We can really see that you're heading up the business here. Oh my God, I took it all in. My ego got stroked.
Suckered you.
Oh, suckered me so bad.
Oh, I haven't named this podcast series yet, but I think screw the fear, up the gear.
Yeah.
That's probably a possibility.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? And he really made you believe in that. Yeah. So anyway, as a family, they're not part of Liberty Steel anymore.
Okay.
But the Chabria family were embarrassed by the offer we were made from Liberty, and they really want to work with us, family to family. They would look at an acquisition of some of the shares, but Steve and I would have to say on. They put forward that we would grow a multinational business, which that's my little baby growing into a multinational. Yeah. So aside from money, that's ticking my box.
Yeah, your ego's right up there at this point.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
And we're going to make a lot of money. We do an initial sale of some shares, but we've still got part of the bigger picture, which is huge.
Yeah.
This guy's into all the venture capitalists. He is a lecturer at the London School of Economics. He tours me around the London School of Economics. He's like saying hi to everyone, and it's just like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
People pay a fortune to go to that school and he's teaching them.
Yeah.
And I've got him on tap, So that all happens. And then the deal negotiation starts happening. And he very much got me by this point. And he's like, we won't involve all the lawyers and everything. It's just going to waste all of our money. We've got trust. We know what we're going to do here. And so the meetings happen. And every time I go, actually, that doesn't feel quite right. I don't think that calculation's right. It'd be me in a room full of men and Steve, but not from an accountancy side on Steve's front. And they'd go, oh, Amy, I know you know how to run a scrapyard, but you need to leave the finances to us. We don't expect you to know how to do this, but the calculations don't work like that.
Is this before or after the sale?
This is before the sale.
Okay. So you've already let him in?
I've let him in.
Okay.
Let him in. So normally you're selling a company I now know, you don't show them anything.
No.
Your accountant deals with it. You've got a middleman. Well, I wish I'd known you then, Aaron, so badly. But I was like, I've got nothing to hide. There's my Sage.
Yeah.
There's all my accounts. Do you want to log in?
Yeah.
There's my stock list. There's my this. There's my that. You can have whatever you want. He would come up to my office once a week, walk around the yard like he already knew it, for starters, and just go through everything with a fine tooth comb. And there were a couple of things that went on. My stock value wasn't correct. And I was like, okay, I don't want to get bit on the arse from this, so I'm going to tell you. So I would have these conversations. No, Mol, I need to tell you this. You know, you've said this is a trusting situation, but I'm going to have to get a response from you. So he'd send me an email going, you worry too much. I'm perfectly aware of the stock levels. It's the same with all scrapyards. So he was buying my confidence, buying my confidence. You don't need to tell your solicitor that. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with it afterwards. So 3 or 4 meetings, we end up having a deal. We sell 80%.
Okay. For how much?
80%. What did we sell it for? 2.4.
Okay.
2.4, but rookie mistake. Initial consideration of 1.2.
Okay. 2.4 for the 80%.
Yes.
Okay.
So
we're valuing around 3 million.
But the reason being, because we were keeping control of running the yards, and because we would have 20%, it had been put to me, of this enormous business within 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and also the one thing I did know is everyone has said to me, don't take an earn out. Don't take an earn out. But they didn't mention that I shouldn't take a deferred. So, well, I say they didn't mention. I didn't really ask anyone. I was just like, okay, the company needs a cash flow. Fair enough. My baby's going to grow.
Yeah.
So took the 1.2. They're going to pay the rest in 6 months and then 12 months, or 12 and 18, something like that. Anyway, they come in and things were wrong from day one. Now, also, rewind. Day one, 5 million injection of cash was meant to come in to fund the scrap purchases.
Okay.
And a further 12 to 15 in year one.
From the buyer?
From the buyer.
Okay.
They've got an investor who is Singaporean.
Yep.
His name is Sanjeev Gupta.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm not even questioning this now. Of course, there's 2 Sanjeev Guptas and they're all webbed up with the same person. I mean, come on. So anyway, the money doesn't come. Day one, and I'm like, okay, cash flow is really tight this week. You know,
have you received your 1.2?
I've had my 1.2.
Okay,
that happened.
That's in the bank.
That happened on the day that we signed. Is in the bank at this point.
So at that point, you're probably thinking he's good for it. If the 1.2 didn't come, you're probably thinking this is something fishy. But he's paid you 1.2. It's in your bank. Or the 5 million that he was supposed to pay hasn't come in.
But this was, we were still only in the first week. So maybe, you know, and then it was like, oh yeah, but you can't just click your fingers like that and money comes in. Red flag. Okay, can we go through the cash flow? So what is coming in? Well, you're same as you've always done. Whatever sales you've got will be your money coming in. I was okay, but you told me to stop selling in the month leading up to the agreement because you wanted to put the material into the steel mills that you knew because they were going to pay more money for the material. So as you know, because I told you I haven't got any money coming back in off the sales. Well, what are you going to do about that then? So then they suggest on a Saturday. So now by this point, I'm working with this guy from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. Now they start calling me on Saturdays. They don't care about my family anymore. All of a sudden, the points I'd made before, I need time for my family. They have to come first. Irrelevant.
Yeah. They've just paid you £1.2 million for your business and you work for them now.
And I work for them.
Yeah.
I work for them and they make that very clear. And they don't care if I've got other commitments. Yeah. So we're working. On the Saturday, I go, okay, next week's cash flow, I think it was about 1.2 we needed to pay the suppliers who were already overdue by this point. And so they say, okay, they laugh at me again and they say, okay, 10-week payment plan for everyone. This is the scrap industry. They're on 7 days. They always have been with me. It's been tough, but they always have been. I might have gone over by a few days or a week, but 10 weeks, you're not going to get away with that.
Yeah.
Well, nothing else you can do about it. There's no money coming. So you're going to have to do that. We are only going to put in 400,000. I can't remember the exact figures, but it was a little bit.
So from 5 million, it's dropped to 400 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I have to do it. And I've got to put my name now to these emails to the people that I go back 20, 30 years with that I'm not going to pay them. But they're making me do it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it because I'm their puppet.
Yeah.
They're God. Who am I?
Yeah.
And now I'm just feeling more and more stupid by the minute. And then they chuck Steve out of our shared office. Say he's better off outside by the yard, watching what's going on out there. He doesn't need to be up with us. in the mix of that, they're telling me I shouldn't put up with the way Steve speaks to me. Husband and wife in business, you explode at each other sometimes. That's a passion.
Yeah,
that's what you do. Now I'm thinking, oh, really? Is that not normal? Is it really that bad? Is he being disrespectful and I'm letting him? So now they're wedging between me and Steve. No money coming, wedging between me and Steve. And I still think they're the best thing ever. I mean, what on earth? Loads of stuff goes on. It was really horrific. I was fully gaslit, as I now know.
Yeah, it wasn't a term, it wasn't a phrase then, was it?
No, it's what it was happening. And then COVID hits. Oh gosh, what are we going to do now? Well, look, if you put back your initial consideration that you were paid, we'll match you and put the same in. I'm going to save this business no matter what, because I'm not going to fail. Yeah. Failure isn't in my nature. I've been...
And in your head, it's your baby still.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to protect it. I've got my staff. I love my staff. So, okay, Steve's like, I'm not sure about this. In fact, we argued really badly about it. And I was like, well, we have to. We've got no other choice. We have to. So in the money goes. And
so you put all of it back in?
All of it goes back in.
The 1.2 they paid you put the 1.2 back into the business.
And I think there was like reduced salaries. There was all sorts went on. Officially to get over COVID, but now obviously now my mind has recovered. Scrapyard stayed open in COVID.
Yeah.
We were allowed to carry on trading. There was no COVID excuse.
Yeah.
So, but they run the business out and they didn't want to, they were running it down. And then I got a call to say, okay, you're going to have to remortgage your house because we need some more money back into this business. And that's when I was like, okay, no, this isn't right. And it took that long.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we can't do that. We can't remortgage our house. It's my family home.
Yeah.
I can't do that. And Steve absolutely would have, he would have divorced me rather than, rightly so, absolutely rightly so, because I wasn't in my sane mind.
Yeah, you weren't thinking straight.
They'd broken me by this point. We say no more money. They try and force us to go and take loans against the house, put the house up for collateral, even to the point of, he said to me, well, your dad's got a few quid, hasn't he? Go and take it off of him. Hasn't he got a house? Nasty stuff. Their emails basically ridiculing me. And then what came out in court is that they were getting together on the night time going, sort of, have we broken her yet? She thinks her mental health is bad now. She doesn't know what it's going to be like in a minute.
Wow.
And the day that I said no more money, there won't be any more money, I haven't got it.
Yeah.
The next day they called a meeting in the office and they sacked us both for gross misconduct.
Wow.
Completely made up. Asked us to pretend to the staff we were going on holiday because they didn't want to upset the business. The business is still my baby.
Yeah.
So I'm compliant to that. I don't want to upset the business. And I think this is all a mistake. It's going to blow over.
Yeah.
I'm still that sort of naive to it and so enthralled that I carry on believing even I'm being sacked.
Yeah.
The day after that, we're at home. They send low loaders over to pick up the company cars. So leave us with nothing. And they put in a proceedings against us for £26 million. £26 million.
Effectively arguing that you missold the business, that it wasn't the business that you had kind of, they bought it, on the basis that they bought it was not true.
Yet we had every piece of documentation and email you could imagine where I am saying they knew that business inside and out.
Yeah.
What they didn't know at that point, and this wasn't because of them, this was sheer luck, this isn't me being clever. I'd always had a conditional forward on my emails to my personal account. They thought because the day we got chucked out of that office, within minutes,
they suspended you.
They cut it all off.
Yeah.
So they think I've got nothing.
Yeah.
They think I've got nothing at all. And I'm sitting there thinking, but I've got all this stuff. Why are they even bothering with this? We get a solicitor onto it. This is like complete nuts. It's not real.
Yeah.
Here's all my evidence against it. And they were like, the trouble is, they're going to bring this case against you. If you don't defend it, they're going to take whatever you do have and make you bankrupt.
Yeah.
They're going to take your home. They're going to take everything, because if you choose not to defend it, they can do that.
Yeah.
That cannot be a point of law. I thought it was innocent until proven guilty, but you have to take it to court. And because of COVID, 3 years.
Oh my God.
3 years. And we were on a non-compete was one of our clauses. So Steve and I couldn't work anywhere in the industry other than the clause that I'd carved out was that I could work in my other business, in the family business. Thank God, because it's the only thing that paid the mortgage. And so, we ended up in court 3 years later. And I think we're about 1.5 million in the hole on legals.
Wow. How did you get the money?
Well, I was borrowing it from the family. I was like, you need to support me here. Like, I can't do anything. So I was having director's loans and I was trading hard. I put my attention on that company. We sold everything we could sell.
Except the house.
Except the house, because
where to live. You know, 6 of you there. Right?
And it's my home.
Yeah.
Like, we'd worked hard for that place, but everything else we could sell. You know, Steve had a little van to run around in. The family had a spare car that I could borrow. And this was in like 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
22, I think, was a court case, was it?
No, it was a bit later.
Was it?
No, it was much later.
I can't even remember now.
I think around 23, 24.
I think maybe 24 in April, May, we got the verdict.
Decision. Your trial was in November 23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trial, if you've never been to court, 2 weeks, Cardiff Court, and they had me on the stand for 3 whole days.
That must be exhausting.
I was just sick. Every morning I'd get up in the hotel and I was physically sick as a dog.
Your life is on the line. Like, if you lose, you're done.
You're done.
Right? You're absolutely done. And you'll basically never be able to start again. That was it. Your whole life was on.
Well, not only could you not start again financially, it ruins you.
Oh yeah, because the scrap metal industry is so it's so reputation based.
Yeah,
your name would be mud.
Name mud, and you're mentally destroyed. For me, coming from, you never fail, you never tell anyone anything.
Yeah,
I had got it all wrong. So what was going with me is, you failed Steve because he's not involved with the numbers. So this is all your fault. You failed your dad. You failed your whole family. You failed the kids because that was their legacy, and now you've messed that up. You failed.
Yeah.
That was all I woke up to every morning.
Because no one's telling you. That's you telling yourself that.
That's me.
Yeah.
Like, constantly. But equally, no one comes running to help.
No.
There isn't, because they can't. They're actually a bit embarrassed of even coming anywhere near you. A few friends would kind of be there, but most people, our wider network, were worried for us, and they had our backs, but they didn't know what to do or say.
It's such a unique situation. And the reality is, most people in life will never experience something like that, nor should they.
No.
I mean, what you went through was, if there was hell on earth, that would be it.
Yeah.
I mean, so you wrapped up 1.5 million in legal fees.
Yeah.
Trial was in November. And then the judge needs like 6 months to make a decision, right? Yeah. So now you're just in limbo.
Yeah.
And you can't compete because you still signed non-compete clause. And then May, obviously, the decision comes.
Yeah. So we were in a restaurant when the decision comes in, and...
Did you know it was coming then? Did you plan to go to that restaurant? It was just...
No, we'd waiting, and we were chasing every day, anything. Oh. You couldn't sleep. You just couldn't function at all, because I thought we had a good chance, because I gave everything I'd given to all my businesses, I gave to that case. It was all I could do to cope. So my time was spent during that whole period. I was either on the case, and I was looking for any minor detail that I could get in there. And I knew the case backwards, forwards, every which way by the time I was in court. But equally, I'd found a solicitor that worked with me, and we had this we'd work so closely. We had this telepathy when we were in court. So when they were asking me questions that she knew I would be able to answer, because she knew I knew everything about the business, she was getting the paperwork ready to back it up.
Yeah.
So it worked like a dream. So in a way, I was like, I think that went okay. And everything they were asking me was to do with scrap, which obviously I knew the answers to. But the bullying side of it was that I would answer questions and they would go, "You're lying. She's lying. Ask her again." Vile, just really, really.
In court?
In court.
The judge didn't
He was constantly telling him, you're going to be in contempt of court. The judge would ask him to answer a question, and he'd go, "Well, actually, no. If we turn to page 42, let's talk about this." But
so who's this? The barrister?
No, Al Chabria.
Oh, wow.
Myself in court. No, I'm not going to answer that question. Let's turn to this page. I want to talk about this. And the judge was infuriated. So because of those things, I thought, surely they've seen through them, surely. Yeah. But you don't know.
By them, do you mean a jury? It can't be a jury.
No, it wasn't a jury. I mean the judge. The
judge makes a decision.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a jury wouldn't know a clue. I mean, even I, after representing you for 3-4 years, still find that case difficult to follow.
It is hard.
The jury public wouldn't have a clue.
No, but the judge seemed to kind of get it.
Yeah.
But he had to be so impartial, because the few times that he picked them up, they threatened him. And they said, if you're found to not be following protocol, we will be back in court with you.
Wow.
So they were, it was a game to them. It was a game. So yeah, the day comes in May and we win belt and braces.
Yeah.
Not only is it very damning, you know, the judge has written very, very damning comments about them, but he also awarded 90% of the costs.
Okay.
Which doesn't happen generally.
Yeah.
The problem was that through the journey, I'd insisted on money being paid into court, a certain amount. I think it ended up being about 400 or something.
That's
something like that, wasn't it? Yeah. But not the rest of it.
Yeah.
It never got there. They would bat it off or they would not respond in time. Things went on that just kept elongating everything. And I knew, other than the money that was in court, I knew I wasn't going to get anything.
Yeah.
I just knew. And within...
You just had to not lose. You were never going to win.
You just had to not lose. And I had to carry on with it. And everyone kept saying, you're better off, just have a deal, just get out, get off the wheel, then you can start again. And I was like, I can't. No. They won't let me.
Yeah.
At one point I was saying, I will walk away. I will walk away from this. You won't have to pay me any money. I will walk away. Steve and I are more valuable to ourselves and our own mental health than to carry on. And they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't.
They wanted to destroy you.
Oh, they told us that.
Yeah.
We will not get a penny off of it.
How did it get so personal? Because obviously they've wooed you. They've done a proper number on you. They've wooed you. You've fallen in love with them. And okay, I can see that they were probably trying to screw you from the start. They wanted a deal. It started off purely as business for them. How did it get so evil? How did it get so kind of personal and bitter?
Let's think about it. I'm the big I am. I run international corporations.
Yeah.
I'm the talk of the London School of Economics, which wasn't true actually. That was made up as well. And this.
So you're being Jabra here.
I'm being Jabra.
Yeah, okay.
I'm being Jabra. I'm the big I am. Yeah. And I've got this respect. I'm an influencer. I write books. I really am the big thing here. And Amy Bird is a scrap dealer's daughter, has got no education. And she's a woman.
Yeah.
And she's a woman. And she just won. And they could see that coming. I wasn't.
Oh, you think it was fear? They knew they were going to lose.
During the process, they were throwing stuff at us. And I really believe they'd never come across people that would, regardless of what it was costing them, keep going.
Yeah.
They expected us to bail.
Yeah.
And they put the pressure on and they put the pressure on. And we got closer and closer to court and we got stronger because we started preparing ourselves. We had gone on for so long that we started feeling better about ourselves. And we started gathering the evidence and I started understanding the court process and how you work that court process. Because if I'm up against something, what I do is I learn about it. I'm day and night, I'm gonna learn about it, you know. And so we brought it and they weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
So now it's nasty, isn't it? Because what have you got? You've got lies on the other side. You've got a bit of money behind you. You've got this persona. But what you haven't got is true, real, proper grit and determination. And that's what won the day.
Yeah.
The grit and the determination is what beat them.
Yeah. I experienced something quite similar with a builder who was my best friend. And he got to court. And from their point, it was like, we've got a great solicitor. Here's our case. And that was it. For me, I was like, I can't afford to lose this. It was on the office that we built. And I just learned that case like the back of my hand. I knew everything about it. And when it came to it, like, we naturally won because it meant more for us. Whereas for them, it was just a game. Well, we think we've got a good case. There you go. Judge is going to rule in our favour. Yeah. But similar with you. You just gave everything. I think ultimately that's what matters. It's not who is right, but who knows their case better. Yeah. Who is really willing to put their blood, sweat and tears into it. Yeah. So you won the case and you then immediately folded the company, right?
You win the case, but do you really win the case?
No.
You know,
so you got 300 grand back.
Yeah.
But you still lost, what, 1.2 million?
Yeah. Well, I lost the company in the first place.
Yeah, that was with baby.
That, you know, legals, years of life. And you know what? I can sit here now and I am so grateful.
Yeah. It's probably the best thing that ever happened to you.
Those lessons will be with me forever.
Yeah.
And it's enabled me to really become my own person, stop doubting myself. It's so weird, the confidence that you can take from something like that.
Yeah.
to own your own space and move forward. Anyone who is going through hell at the moment, don't run away from it. No. If you can keep yourself in the eye of the storm and deal with it rather than running, at some point in the future, you will be such a better person.
Yeah.
You really will. And in business, personally, relationships with family, every single level, it has improved my life.
That's amazing. So the next chapter I've community called Resurrection.
Yes.
So you're driving past our office, you give us a call. So we started the scrap metal company. It's called Countrywide Metals. Obviously, they've lost the case. They've had to put that company into administration. Therefore, the contract doesn't stand. You're now free to enter the industry, and Countrywide starts.
Yes.
We met earlier in the week to do 2024 accounts. I think it's your fourth set of accounts.
Third or fourth?
Well, it grows so quickly.
There was a small bit in the first year, wasn't it? So it's 3-4 years.
Even that small bit was in the millions. I would call it a small bit.
True.
But you have surpassed your income, your turnover in Countrywide after 3 and a bit years than you did in One Stop after 10. I'm just going to assume that is just from, like, One Stop, you wanted to grow it, but you grew it at your natural pace. With Countrywide, you're like a tiger unleashed. It's just like, we've lost One Stop. We've lost really critical years of our life. We've got to kind of make this up now.
Yeah.
And you and Steve have just gone mental.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, because I can see it, but I can never feel or know really how that fire burns for you to basically achieve what you are now achieving.
I think, people say, how do you pull yourself up to even go again? And, it's exhausting in the first place. But it's in you to want to prove that it wasn't your fault in a way, what happened. So that's number one. I've got to show the world that actually I really did nothing wrong, genuinely, So that's number one. Number two is Namal Chabria and his family fuel my fire. You tried to destroy me and my family. Now watch what I can do.
Yeah.
That's number two. And number three is that we love what we do. The passion didn't go away. And the industry that we're in is fiercely competitive. So if you get accepted into it and you're held by it, you want to be in it.
Yeah.
And you enjoy what you do. And, if you've made that many mistakes, which I did during that learning of one-stop recycling, and I can remember them and I've documented them. And my way of coping is, okay, what were the mistakes? How did I deal with them at the time? And what would I do differently now? So every time something comes up, even if it's something simple like a machine acquisition, then I'm running now return on investment.
Yeah.
I'm seeing what would it do to the cash flow? How many tons per hour am I going to get through that machine? How long is it going to last? What's the depreciation going to be on it? How many people is it going to take to run it? I know that machine inside and out before I even sign the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Learned behavior. So I've taken all of the bad stuff, learned from it, looked at what we can do to have actually quite an easy model. Because that's the other thing I've learned is the minute a business model starts to feel complicated, you've got something wrong.
Yeah.
You've got something wrong. And that's the time to stop and reassess. And also, yes, you can have a life. And it's important that your business allows you to have a life. That doesn't mean I'm not thinking about it still 24/7. But I've got a structure in place that allows me to think about it maybe when I'm sitting by a nice pool.
Yeah.
And there's the gold.
Yeah.
See, the ideas that come in those moments when you're not neck down in cash flow, that's the gold. And I think Steve and I are now allowing ourselves to have our own personality. So he knows what his strengths are and I know what mine are. And as we've got older and developed as a couple and a business couple, we allow each other to do that. Whereas I think in the early days, I was trying to force my opinion and way of doing things on him, and he was trying to do the same back. And although it worked, he was butting heads a little bit. Now it's really cool because we allow each other the space to put the idea forward and question the idea without it being an argument.
Yeah.
Very different place to be.
I noticed that in the meetings that we have, he very much owns his own space. He knows his remit.
Yeah.
But he kind of asks you for permission on the finances, and you kind of give it to him.
Yeah.
You kind of say, yes, you can have this, yes, you can have that. And he doesn't, I then expect him to look at me like, like a man looks at a man when his wife's talking, like roll his eyes, or ball and chain. Yeah. But he doesn't. He's like, okay, thanks. That business respect is amazing.
Yeah.
But your business is global and international, and you get to travel all over the world. I think one of our last meetings, we were in the Burj Khalifa, having dinner, looking at fountains.
So many of the traders are out of Dubai.
Yeah.
So many people are over there, and going to actually see people face to face. I'm a massive fan. I do a lot on socials. I'm a fan of AI, but it won't replace the relationships.
No.
In my opinion, you have to have those relationships. And, Steve and I have built those over 30 years.
Yeah.
I think that was underestimated by a lot of people, that we maintained those. And some of the biggest people in our industry were very quietly phoning Steve and I, giving us their support, knowing that it wasn't our fault. And that meant such a lot to me, to have the support of some people that I massively respect. So I think our relationship has developed, and actually to come through something like that, stay married.
You're now literally unbreakable.
Yeah.
Like, to go through that, it's an amazing testament, isn't it? It's just like, bad things happen to bad people, and most times they break up, don't they? Because the toll is too much.
Yeah.
And actually, you look at each other, if it had gone wrong and you stayed married, he probably would look at you and think it was your fault. And he'd look at you every day, and he probably still loves you, but he'd always blame you. Yeah. And eventually that would have cracked. He'd be like, I just can't do this anymore. Yeah. You're making my life hell. Nothing that you've done wrong, but when I look at you, I think of one stop. Yeah. But it all worked out. And what happened to Mr. Chabra in the end?
Mr. Chabra has had various appointments in other countries.
Okay.
None of them have lasted very long.
Yeah, I think the case is very well publicized. So I think you can kind of
by all means look it up. I mean, it's a bit embarrassing because it does cite my naivety, but in such a way that, almost like poor Amy. But I hate that. Like, I was poor Amy for a little minute there, but
I think that vulnerability puts you in good stead. Yeah. When we run a business, we want to think that we're invincible.
Yes.
And that we can't. My staff always say to me, I said, why have you brought this to me? You're the boss. You give us the answer. I don't know the answer. Yeah. If you don't know the answer, how are we supposed to? So why don't you go and find the answer and then come and tell me? Mm. But you're the boss. Yeah. That's got to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
We employ people to basically learn the skills, and then they can teach us. It doesn't have to be a top-down process.
I think it's so valuable, that kind of exchange of, because what you're doing is you're empowering them.
Yeah.
You're empowering. And if you're looking after your staff well, and they enjoy working for you, the empowerment you give them, they will stay with you.
Yeah.
For that reason, not for money or anything else, for that reason. If people don't empower their staff because they're terrified they're going to leave and go somewhere else, when actually you're doing something wrong as the boss in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what's the plans for Countrywide now? 4 years in. How old are you and Steve?
I'm 47. Steve's much older than me. He's 52.
Okay. Granddad.
Yeah. You know what? We couldn't do nothing. And when you have a business that we've created that can run without us being there, and you're earning a shed load of money, and you enjoy what you do, and you're surrounded by great people, and I'm getting to beat the drum for like women in recycling and giving heads up to that as well at the same time, and do stuff like this with you, which is great. To keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. You are properly loving life. Like, you, even when things are bad, you're always smiling, and it's very infectious. At the very start, you kind of raised not an issue, but you're very aware that you were a woman in a man's world. And a couple of years ago, I received an email from you saying I'm starting this thing called Women in Scrap, which I think is amazing. I think 10 years ago, I wouldn't have got it, but I have a female wife and 2 daughters. And it's very much like I've probably become a feminist. I just want to see women do well in any line of work. Tell me more about kind of Women in Scrap and where that came from. And are there a lot of women in scrap? I thought it was just you.
You know what? So did I for a while. Me and Susie Burridge sits at the head of all of our associations. There was kind of, you'd see Susie everywhere. You'd see me everywhere. I was kind of the loudmouth. But they're coming out of the woodwork, which is exactly what I wanted. So in our world, women are doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
That, you know, with Steve and I, as I said, he's a trader, he's out there, he's doing that, and that's fine. Our dynamic works. But when you're just working for a company and you're working really hard and your ideas are being taken from you and presented by a man just because they're a man, that's not okay.
No.
But it's not any particular person's fault. It's partly the fault of the woman for allowing that to happen sometimes. So how do we stop that? We've got to teach confidence. Above all else, we've got to teach confidence. And I get really upset by companies rolling out the woman into a field where she may not have the knowledge to back herself up. It's got to start with know your job, own it, and then walk into the room.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to teach networking. I mean, I hated networking when I just thought it was the worst thing ever to hide behind my phone or like pretend I needed the loo about 20 times, you know.
Or kind of desperately look for someone that you know and then just hold on to them.
Exactly that. But now I kind of teach, you know, do your research.
Yeah.
Have 4 or 5 people that you know are going to be at an event. Go up to them and go, oh, I read that article you did the other day. I thought that was great. I would love to connect. You know, it sounds daunting. And I teach that, you know, you go up to 2 people and you're 50% successful, you've made 1 connection.
Yeah.
You go up to 10 and you're 50%, you've met 5 new people who know a lot more people than that.
Yeah.
So that's why Women in Recycling has been formed. It's to get all of the women that are already there working really hard out of the woodwork and be able to bring to their companies the knowledge they have, but without man bashing. The science is that men and women's brains are different.
Yeah.
Completely different, equally as effective in different areas. So what is wrong with us? Put the 2 together and every business will progress.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. It's really simple, but some people still find that very, very hard. I remember going to India when I was young, and it was a failing country in the 90s. And I sat there talking to my uncle, and I was probably 14, 15 at the time. And I said, India's never going to be a success. He's like, what do you mean? We've got 1 billion people. I go, yeah, but only 500,000 work. Only 500 million work.
Yeah.
I said, all the women are just sitting at home. Why don't you get them out there?
Yeah.
They might not earn the same or produce the same, but even if they produce 50%, you've suddenly like increased your output by 25%.
Yeah.
And now, I'm not saying it was me.
No, but it's true.
But it was just so obvious. But culture wouldn't allow that to happen. And it's interesting because you come from a culture where you don't allow anyone in. It's just us. You close the world off to the outside world, close the doors to the outside world. And now you start a women in recycling, which is the exact opposite.
Exactly.
It's literally the exact opposite of what you were taught and believed.
Also, you have to be very mindful, particularly in bigger corporations, I've referenced it a couple of times, of fear aggression.
Yeah.
Because if a guy has sat in a very comfortable position for some time and then a woman starts snapping at the heels and they've got the data and everything to back them up, which they will have.
Yeah.
Statistics says there's a job going, a man will tick 1 of 10 boxes and he will go for the job. The woman will have to tick 10 of 10 boxes to go for the job. So she'll be prepared.
Yeah.
That must be terrifying. If you've sat in a cushy job for quite some time, just doing enough, and then this ballsy woman turns up and she knows the job inside and out and she's got a personality.
Yeah.
Be scared.
Yeah. Or be excited.
Well, preferably be excited.
Yeah.
Preferably, but that's not what's happening.
No.
There's this fear of, I'm going to have to really get on and do some work here because this is changing.
Yeah.
And nobody likes change. Nobody likes
right.
change.
Unless you're a growing business.
Yeah.
In which case you love it.
Yeah.
And my whole senior team, they're all women. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's so we met a few weeks ago with a change in the bank at the moment. And you'd said to me, I'm up for an award, but I don't think I'm going to get it. I was like, well, why don't you think you want to get it? He said, because my story is so unbelievable. I think the people who are kind of watching, listening to this will now understand why it's so unbelievable that none of the judges will believe, but obviously they did believe. And you are now Businesswoman of the Year.
Yeah, Birmingham Businesswoman of the Year. So it was a few months ago now, back in last year. So that was unbelievable. Whole family was there and just following that story to get there.
Yeah.
I was really genuinely shocked. So shocked.
I think you might have been. I don't think anyone else was.
Oh, that's nice.
Because what you've achieved is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. I think I probably mentioned this at the start. When I was writing my list of people, you were literally number one. I was in Dubai, on holiday, and I just texted you, which I never do anyway. So I fancy being on my podcast because your story is amazing. And I think you're just going to go on to inspire loads of men and women.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, when they go through something like what you've gone through, they just roll up in a corner and they just be the victim. But you just refuse to let that happen. I think that's an amazing lesson for men and women. Like I said, as a dad of daughters, my wife and I often say like, who are going to be the role models? And I said, Amy Bird. Amy Bird. If my kids turned out like Amy Bird, I'd be more than happy.
Well, I'm doing something right then.
100%. But even if you improve one person's life, you've done it great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amy, thank you very much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Loved it. Loved it.
We'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.